Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight? Never in doubt. I think there's been a little doubt in oil country this last week or so. Not tonight.
To say the least.
Not tonight. Better team on.
Yeah, I wonder how this story plays out, Bruce, with the Oilers this year. I mean, here we are in this, the last year of Leon Draisaitl's, let's face it,
Old
fantastic contract.
Sure is.
Just
right
out
now.
of this world, good contract.
Uh-huh.
The biggest value contract in the NHL, or one of them this season. I mean, how many other players are playing like $7 or $8 million under their value? And so
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. He's
Yeah,
playing
his
like
value-
he's
he's
playing
got
like a
about 14
$14
to
million
15 million.
player he's going to be next year, and then some. And he's still on
Yeah.
8.5. So it is
Yeah.
a major bargain contract.
That was the game that screamed MVP for Leon Draisaitl, Bruce. Like, seriously, he'll be getting a few votes in from New York Islander beat writers, I think, after watching that thing. Bruce, 2-1 win, overtime win for the Oilers, man. Did they need that victory? Did they need that victory? Did they need a performance out of Cal Pickard like they got? And let's just get at it. It's the Two Good Things, Two Bad Things, and Two Numbers podcast. Bruce, what is your good thing?
Yeah, well, I can't really look past Leon Draisaitl, who had yet another magnificent game in his magnificent, now 100-point season, the sixth of his NHL career. Dare I say his Hall of Fame NHL career, because I think there's no doubt now that's where he's headed. Anyway, he was just all over it and playing like a man possessed in this game. I mean, in the first period, there was a shift where he came barreling in on the defense 2-on-2, and he just charged right at the defenseman and dropped the puck behind to Brown, I think it was, Connor Brown. And Leon just charged and barged right into the D-man, and Brown took the pass and he just walked right in between the circles, and unfortunately he was Connor Brown, so he didn't put it in the net, but he did get a good hard shot on net because Leon made the play, and then New York busted it out of the zone and started coming out of up the ice, and back comes Draisaitl on the hunt. And they never made it to center, and Leon just lifts the guy's stick and turns back into the zone with it. This time he's charging right in on net, looking like he's going to shoot. In the last minute, he drops a backhand pass over to Perry. He hammers it on net, and then Brown picks up the rebound and nearly scores, but he is Connor Brown. But still, it was two really good chances, like three good chances in about 20 seconds, and it was all Leon. And these weren't even his shots. And this in a game where he had 6 shots and no other Oiler had more than 3. And of course he had 2 goals and no other Oiler had more than 0. I mean, he was the goal scorer. He is the goal scorer on this team. On this whole trip, they've scored 6 goals, 3 by Leon and 3 by defensemen. And, the rest of the forwards are just firing blanks. But tonight, thanks to, even, a strong net minding effort by Cal Pickard to hold New York to 1, which the Oilers haven't had enough games like that lately. And they needed a big game of goaltending today. And I heard on the radio today, then, I can't remember who the interview was, and he was saying Pickard's the guy they actually, when they really need a big performance to, to turn it around from a loss, that's when he plays his best. And he did tonight. But anyway, Leon also played his best, and he scored a super goal on the invincible in New York, Ilya Sorokin, who, if my memory serves, 2 years ago shut out the Oilers 3-0 with a 49 save shutout. Last year it was 3-1, and again it was like 40 shots. I don't remember the exact specifics. First star in both of those games. And he was doing the same kind of sorcery tonight, Sorokin was, and only Leon was able to puncture his bubble with first of all, a big clapper in the second period, finally, after 17 shots and no joy in the first period, and the Oilers came out in the second, given the first 7 shots were against. And then finally, they got the puck in and over the line, and Leon just said, I'm just going to look after this one myself, and carried it into the top of the circle and let go with the big, I saw it as a Frank Mahovlich clapper. I think you saw it as a Bobby Hull. Well,
that's what my dad used to say. Yeah, that's a Bobby Hull of a shot. And,
yeah,
you
Bobby
know,
Hull of a shot. Yeah, Hull
yeah,
of a shot.
it did remind me, Bruce, of all those great slap shots in the 70s that used to go in.
Yeah.
Hardly ever go in now.
But you
But
don't see many. I mean, how many slappers does Leon take?
well, but the players don't have time to get them off, and the goalies also tend to stop them. They just can't beat the goalie from that distance, but Leon can. Leon's got that rare ability still to hammer in that puck.
Yeah, that was a drive.
As we regularly saw in the 70s on the big slap shot. Is that your printer in the background going off? There's some note like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that noise is.
TV up there.
No, it's like this. It sounds like a printer like every 30 seconds, but maybe it's just something with my
not at this end, I don't think.
All right. Good stuff.
So anyway, he scored on that big clapper, and Sorokin got a little piece of it with his glove, but he wasn't able to reel it in and glance down and into the net to open the scoring. And then, of course, New York tied it in the third, and they came close. Like Leon had how many? 11 contributions.
11 major contributions to grade. So the Oilers had 17 grade A shots. The New York Islanders had 10, and the Oilers had five alarm shots, and the Islanders had 3. So 17-10, and he was in on 11 of them.
So he was in on more than the entire Islanders team.
Correct.
That's impressive, and he scored more goals than the entire Islanders team. Also impressive. So anyway, he's got to be, and he was first star on both the broadcast and on the in-building stars that show up on the game sheet, which are the official ones. It's that the home team picks, and of course we saw the ones from the visiting broadcast crew. And anyway, Leon was top of the pops on both, and deservedly so. I thought and then of course, we didn't even mention overtime winner. Oh yeah. He scored the overtime winner on a phenomenal 4-way passing play in 3-on-3 overtime that you don't often see, where Bouchard wasn't really a pass, but he won a battle and chipped it over in front of his own net away from the Islander, and Pickard just kind of jumped on it and flicked it up towards I thought he was trying to hit Draisaitl, but McDavid got it first and took the pass, and then he hit Draisaitl with the perfect McDavid soft butter pass. And Leon soared in alone on goal, locked in on Sorokin, and blew one past him, blocker side this time.
What a shooter.
Real nice way to end the game. That was a very exciting few seconds. And anyway, the best player on the ice, and arguably the best player in the league, won this game for Edmonton Oilers. I hope you gave him a good grade.
Gave him a 10. I'd give him a 9 initially, but I bumped it up to a 10 when I thought about it.
I'm with you. That's what more do you want him to do other than, I guess, not take that penalty? Those 2 penalties that
marginal penalties for sure.
Pretty marginal.
Especially the one where Engvall, I don't think Leon was embellishing on that. I just think that was a cheap call by the refs. But Bruce, that the ability to shoot like that is, it's when you don't have that on your team. Mm-hmm. Well, you're the New York Islanders, right? Like you're one of the weak teams for scoring. And how many games has he won for the Oilers on his shooting this year? Where would the Oilers be without Leon Draisaitl this year? Like this is a good this is starting to shape up as a really good argument. Like they are not a playoff team this year without Leon Draisaitl. He has dragged them into the playoffs, and he's keeping them, in the hunt here for a playoff spot. And he almost dragged them right to the top of their division at one point before everybody else fell off. He didn't. Still such a fantastic hockey player. I don't in terms of that kind of shooting prowess, we haven't seen a guy like this since Yari Curry. And What an amazing goal scorer. I wonder how many he's going to finish up with in his NHL career. He could have a long NHL career because he's built for durability. He's durable.
Yep.
He's big. He doesn't get
Oh,
hurt that often, knock on wood. And he just, I think his game is gonna, I think it's gonna age pretty well, Bruce. Um, Maybe better than McDavid's game, which is more built on speed. And so yeah, no, Leon. We'll just see where he goes. I just hope he has this one playoff year, Bruce, where he's completely healthy from beginning to end, and he shows what he can do in those circumstances. Last year, for instance, he started off the playoffs just unbelievable, and then he got hurt against Vancouver early in the Vancouver series, and was good after that, but his play really dropped off and was significant. He was just a shadow of himself in the finals. So my hope is we see a
yeah.
healthy Leon Draisaitl right through the playoffs. If that happens, Bruce, I haven't. A lot of hockey fans have kind of given up on the Oilers, or on some level, like if you read their comments, they're critical enough that they think they have, but they can win the cup. You have a player like Draisaitl, you have a player like McDavid, you have other players. If they all play to their potential, this is a team. But it's Leon, I think, in the
Well,
playoffs who could
playing
really
like he did tonight,
make.
I mean, he was just so determined, hard on the puck, and he's just so slick, like he comes into the zone and he has the other guys scrambling, and he gets to a certain decision point, and if he thinks, oh no, I'm not going to be able to power wide on the guy, and he just pulls up and he puts the puck over where no one can get it, and he waits for another Oiler to come up in support, and then he dishes a saucer pass to the guy. He's got so many options. It's just a joy to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do something here, Bruce. Let's see if it works. Here's Draisaitl's clip from after
Yeah.
the game. I don't know if this is gonna work. This probably won't work. Let's see if you can hear it.
Okay, let's go to shot.
Can you hear it?
Nope.
Can't hear it. I'll just read it.
Okay.
I'd have to move my computer near the mic, and then I'd screw it all up. He said Gene Principe of Sportsnet asked him about the winning goal and Calvin Pickard's contribution, and Draisaitl, who was really fired up and emotional in that moment. It's quite a clip. You should go. I've clipped it and put it on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
He says that's all Pixie. That's great hockey sense. That's something that a lot of people wouldn't notice or appreciate. For him to have the guts to come out there and play that puck, that's the only reason we scored here.
Yeah.
It's not the only reason they scored
Well,
but it was
the reason
big
that he got that chance.
It sure is, but he also was a huge reason they scored.
He did have something.
He's been, but it's the emotion in Draisaitl's face as he's saying this about Pickard was very. It was
the
moving.
team loves him. By all accounts, they love that guy, and this was where the decisions on goaltenders and so on at the deadline, that was a complicating factor. I'll just put it that way, in a good way, and that the team, he's a kind of a glue guy, apparently, Cal Pickard, and plays every third game, and he wins most of them.
Yeah. Bruce, my good thing was Connor Brown. Could have picked Pickard, but I'm going to pick Connor Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, we already mentioned Pickard. Man, he had chemistry with Draisaitl. He set Draisaitl's goal up, making a nice pass, and he was involved in other setups from Draisaitl. He almost scored in the third off a setup. He came back really hard, crucially, in the third period on a back check.
Yes.
And stopped a guy, I think it was Horvat, right in the slot, and then the Oilers went down the other way and came close to scoring. Brown came close to scoring. That's when he almost kicked it in. Stetcher should have probably shot on that. Draisaitl sent in Stetcher there, and Stetcher probably should have shot. He put it over to Brown, and Brown went off his skates, and it didn't go in. It didn't hit the net. It went through the crease.
Yeah.
But Connor Brown is a hardworking forecheck, backcheck player who can make a pass, take a pass. He's not a scorer at this point. He's kind of Podkolzin like, in a way, maybe a bit more skill and speed, just slightly more than Podkolzin at this point, or more game intelligence. I mean, Podkolzin's not it. I'm not denigrating Podkolzin because I think he's
just more
he's
your pure grinder. He's more your pure grinder.
Yeah, and I think Podkolzin will be probably on the third or fourth line in the playoffs, which will be fine.
Yep, that's
Connor
right.
Brown be interesting. He did really well. There was instant chemistry. They really worked well together, and we'll see. I like obviously you're going to need another high skill player on that line. It's not going to be Connor Brown, Leon Draisaitl. Who was the third guy tonight?
For Perry for start of the game. Then Hyman got banged up, and the lines got a little bit scrambled after that. But that was Perry, Brown, two right shot wingers, and Draisaitl. And
it might be Arvidsson, it might be Kane, it might be Nugent Hopkins because Nuge is not working out on the top line necessarily right now. Like Nuge is struggling.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, but maybe it could be Brown on that second line. We'll see. I think we'll see him again. He'll be there next game because he just had a great game.
When he's skating at the top of his skating game, and then the rest of his game kind of comes together, and he's got a real nose for the puck. And he does have offensive instincts. They just don't quite extend to the 15 feet around the net. But, when, like, on the penalty kill, he and Janmark, they're the only two forwards that think offense on the penalty kill. And they really will go for the jugular on the counterattack when they do get that chance. Once, every couple or three games, they might get a chance. But when they do, they recognize it and go for it. And he does have some offensive instincts. I mean, this is a guy who beat Connor McDavid for the OHL scoring championship in Connor's first year, or McDavid's first year, and Brown's last year when they were teammates with Erie under Chris Knobloch. And so, I mean, Brown, clearly, you don't win a scoring championship by being a plumber. I don't care what the league is, you just don't. And he's obviously not really translated into a high-end scorer, but you can see these flashes. And it's just the finish that he just really seems to lack. But there's lots to like about his game, defense, and hustle, and
he's
to grind it out, and
he's the Tobias Reeder of shooters of the puck. You mentioned Bruce his PK work, and he did get that breakaway. It was a great play by Janmark. Janmark just timed it perfectly, and Brown did too. He got on the right side of the player. It wasn't a breakaway that was obvious that it was going to happen, and then out of nowhere they kind of conjured it, and it was an excellent play by both players. Fantastic pass, fantastic pickup of a hard pass, and then the usual kind of Connor Brown finish
against the high-end goalie is kind of a mismatch.
Yeah.
Those two guys, I swear, they're better attackers when they're shorthanded than when they're at even strength.
They're pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are dangerous, and they're a great tandem on the penalty kill. And I think they'll crank it up again this year in the playoffs on the PK. And
Janmark was a bit better tonight, and he'd been sick, and then he missed the last game, and then they put him back in there tonight. And I mostly liked his game, and I thought he was more noticeable than he's been in a lot of games lately.
And I guess McDavid's sick too. They're always These guys are always they live a pretty. They're always on the move. They're on the go. They're on the airplanes. Right? but they're young guys. They're on the go. They're on airplanes. They're meeting lots of people. It's not surprising that they get sick a lot because they're just in contact with hundreds and hundreds of people. They're not working at home. Put it that way.
My wife, teacher, she'd come home every September. She'd come down with whatever cold or flu was running through the school. The first month of the year it was inevitable.
Yeah, when I was coaching.
Contact that many people, it is inevitable to a way.
Bruce, your bad thing.
Yeah, we already mentioned his name, but I'm about to mention it again a couple more times. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's been having his troubles lately. And tonight, in a game where the Oilers really needed to tighten up the ship and not be giving away stuff like they've been giving away 2-on-1s. It's like watching an Oprah show. You get a 2-on-1, you get a 2-on-1, everybody gets a 2-on-1. And tonight it was Nuge, who personally coughed up the puck on a pair of 2-on-1s, one in the first period when he tried to either bobbled the pass or he tried to dangle the guy at the blue line when the defenseman was in front of him. And he was basically the last guy back. Yeah, Bush was in front of him. And anyway, the Islander just came and stripped it off him, and away they went 2-on-1. And didn't score. They got a real dangerous shot, and then Bush busted his ass coming back on the back check on that one. I was really impressed by this play. Bush gets a lot of criticism for not being fast enough, or sometimes playing the percentages and thinking I'll clean up the rebound or whatever. Anyway, he busted butt to get back there as hard as he could, and he wound up breaking up the rebound because he was there. And so the second shot, which could have been more dangerous than the first, dissipated to nothing. But the first shot was plenty dangerous. Poor giveaway by Nuge. Well, once in a while it's going to happen to everybody, right? Yeah, well, once in a while happened again in the third period. Second minute of the third period, the Oilers as a team have worked hard to earn a 1-0 lead going into the third. And one painful decision, it was basically 1-1 because puck was a kind of nothing play along the boards, and Nuge got it right along the left wing boards, and I think he spied a guy in front of the net that looked like he might be open, and rather than chip the puck along the boards into the corner, which I thought was the play, he tried a cross ice pass. It got intercepted. This time it was Bo Horvat who picked it off, and off he goes tearing up the ice on another 2-on-1. And of course, he didn't miss. He picked the far corner with a great shot, and it was 1-1. And all that work they'd done to establish the lead was back to square one. And we scored both of those plays as a single mistake by one guy, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, turning the puck over. And you got to hope for better. You got to expect better from a 14-year vet, And it's not like he's getting 100 points like Leon and Connor are going to, right? I mean, he's there for his all-ice game. Well, all-ice game should include not coughing up odd man rushes against, especially when your team is trying desperately to cut him down. And most of the team did better on that tonight, but Nugent-Hopkins did not. And so he gets tabbed with the bad thing from this game. By me, anyway. What's yours?
Oh, you're just looking old fast, Bruce. I hate to say it, but he's got to crank it up. He's got to figure out a way to crank it up. And I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Like, just he needs to dig into the game a little harder. On that particular play, it's just he's got to get in touch with his inner Mike Peca and make the safe play with the puck, not the risky play. 1-0 lead. Darnell Nurse has already pinched in.
Right.
And
just like the first giveaway he had, the defenseman was right in front of him. He could see him. And he still tried him.
It wasn't I didn't love Nurse pinching in that moment either. Like no. I think, why, Darnell? You're up 1-0. Why do that? It was a high risk play initially by Nurse, but he did put it back to Nuge, and Nuge had a play to make then. All he had to do was dump it behind the net, keep the cycle going. But he went for the high risk kind of offensive play, which is what offensive attackers like Nugent-Hopkins do, and it really backfired. He also, in overtime, Bruce, Cizikas broke down the wing, and it was Nuge who allowed the pass, and they got a really dangerous shot in overtime, which was also on Nuge. So, like, some of their most dangerous moments in the game came through him, and he's been struggling all year at even strength. And this isn't unusual for Nugent-Hopkins. Like, I'd say in the last 6 years, there's been times every season where we've talked about him struggling at even strength. And certainly in the playoffs, he struggles because of the intensity and the size becoming such a big factor. He can get kind of pushed to the outside and pushed out of those games. Nonetheless, has been an excellent special teams player, which has made up for a lot of it. So, yeah, a little bit worrying. But he has pulled out of it in the past and had stretches of good even strength play as well, and periods of even better special teams play. So we can hope for that again. My bad thing, Bruce. I'm going to pick another veteran center, Adam Henrique, who got bumped up to the first line, and it did nothing. So it's just frustrating. I mean, we all keep going back to the summer, right? The decisions of Monsieur Jeff Jackson and the mistakes that were made in terms of keeping veteran players when he had yet to secure the services of Dylan Holloway. And, it would have been nice to bump up Dylan Holloway to the top line tonight. Because Adam Henrique, he's looking, to me, he didn't look slow last year. He's looking slow this year. He's looking a step, even on the PK and at even strength, Bruce. It's a hard thing to say, but he just seems like he's a step behind. And last year he got by on, he's a really smart hockey player. He's a really dedicated, committed hockey player. He's often in the right spot. He does make the right play, but he is just not coming close to getting it done this year. And I wouldn't be surprised at this point to see him as the fourth line center in the playoffs. They might go to, it's possible we'll see Nuge as the third line center and Henrique as the fourth line center, which isn't a terrible thing. Like those two guys.
He'd be a good fourth line center other than an expensive one.
Yeah. So in the playoffs, so when you want to win, you have these two veteran guys. And if they really commit
to, one was a righty.
Yeah. If they really commit to defense, that might be the ticket for the Oilers. And they might get it done. But right now they're both not getting it done. And they're sure not putting up points at even strength. And that's partly why they got paid as they're paid as they are. So yeah, Henrique. Bruce, what's your number?
Yeah, he's not producing any real offense.
He is not.
And
not one grade A shot. He wasn't involved in one, right?
And he had no shots on net again, which
Yeah.
is a very regular occurrence. He's had 0 shots in net 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times in his last 20 or 21 games. 12 games with no shots. Not even one shot in the majority of those games. Like odd game's going to happen with 0 shots. I mean, Gretzky had 0 shots in the first game in the Montreal Forum in the 81 playoffs when he had 5 assists. No shots. But it's all in Zosky's book about that. But
Henrique had 5 assists tonight. I wouldn't say a word.
I was too busy putting Richard Sevigny in his back pocket. Hip pocket.
Oh, it was so great when they beat the Habs that year. That was the best. The Habs fans, they were so arrogant. Like, honestly, they were so arrogant at that time. They were so full of themselves and their team. Justifiably, it was a great hockey team for decades, right?
Yeah.
And then the Oilers, for the upstart Oilers to beat them. I don't know if there's been in some ways, I don't know if there's been a better moment in Oilers hockey history.
That was real good. He had not 70 before the series. They were talking about Gretzky and his scoring championship, and record and stuff. And he said Guy Lafleur is going to put him in his hip pocket. And after the 4th or 5th assist in that first game, Gretzky just skated by the crease and tapped his hip. A little bit of trash talking without the talk, but it was a pretty hilarious moment. Anyway,
what's your number, Bruce?
Yeah, my number is officially it's 17. And again, I'm going to invoke the name of Wayne Gretzky, who's not everybody's most popular person right now, but I remember him as a hockey player, and I talk about him as a hockey player, and he was the great one. Anyway, with his first point tonight, Leon Draisaitl stretched his point streak to 17 games, longest in the NHL this year, tied with David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, who had a 17-pointer earlier. And for Leon, it was 17. So that's the best in the league this year. The two of them that did the best streak, 1/3 of the record of 51 games that Gretzky set in 83, 84, just to sort of shine a little more light on how incredible that was. Can you imagine doing a 17, then doing another 17, then another one? Yeah. So anyways, Leon has kind of almost done that. He's had a couple of breaks in there, but his run of points is in the last 41 games. He had a 14 gamer around December, and he which is his second, or if you prefer, third longest streak. The only one, next one behind the 2 out of 17. 14 gamer in which he scored 12 goals, 15 assists, 27 points. He got shut out for one game, came back with an 8-game point streak, 6 goals, 9 assists, 15 points. Got shut out for one game, came back with a 17-game and counting point streak, 14 goals, 12 assists, 26 points. So you add all those up, and you even include those 2 zeros because they're in there. 41 games is exactly half of the season. For the last 41 games, 32 goals, 36 assists, 68 points. Like, he's just on another level. And just a few more numbers on Leon. He leads the league in even strength goals and in power play goals, 34 and 15, and in game winning goals, 10 now with tonight's. And he's just putting up goals. Like, his lead in the goal scoring race right now is 13, I think. Yeah. Draisaitl 49, Nylander 36, Scheifele 35, Connor 35, Pasternak 34, Thompson 34. And it's like one of those Gretzky races where you got one guy way up here and then a stack of guys that are really close at sort of the top level for normal players, and you got this one guy that's way out ahead of everybody and just literally above the pack, because there's a real big pack. If Leon wasn't there, the race for the Richard would be 10 players deep. But right now, barring something really strange, or obviously an injury would be the bad thing, but otherwise he's got a lock on that thing. 13 goal lead, and there's only like 15 or 18 games to go for all these players. So just goals. No, yeah, he's a pretty good playmaker.
Bruce, truth bomb here. If Austin Matthews of Toronto was having the season that Leon Draisaitl is right now, there would be no question. There would be no question in anyone's mind, and all the NHL writers and all the NHL broadcasters, Austin Matthews is a shoo-in for the Hart Trophy. That's what we would be hearing.
And he did have a season like this, and he was a shoe-in for the Hart Trophy. Like, this is a lived experience. So it's just, I don't know what's going to happen, but if it was Matthews, he would be a shoe-on.
Leon Draisaitl should be a shoe-in for the MVP this year.
I don't worry about that. There's a lot of people seem to think that about the Eastern teams and that. Oilers done pretty well winning Hart trophies over the years. It's not like they got Matthews. He was the first guy to win it since, I think, Teeter Kennedy for Toronto, who won it in 1955 or something. And Matthews finally got it. And whereas in the Oilers, of course, we got Gretzky won 8 while he was here, but now we have Connor that won Hart trophies 3, right? And Leon won, and I mean, the Oilers have it's not like they get forgotten come awards time, so I'm not too worried about that. But this year there won't be any chatter about Austin Matthews. I think we can say that safely.
I don't care so much that he wins the Hart Trophy. I want Leon Draisaitl to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. The Maple Leafs have had a Conn Smythe winner, though. 67, Davey Keon, Conn Smythe winner. So those great Leafs teams that won 5 cups in the 60s,
4
cups in 4. Okay, they weren't marked by MVP caliber players. They were just a really great team. And
great defensive team, very rugged team, and very hard to play against. Punch him like it's a hard man, and so was Conn Smythe. Those guys that used to train in Conn Smythe's gravel pit in the summertime. He'd hire him and pay him to go and take a pickaxe to the quarry and break up the gravel. So they'd come to camp all muscled up with, an extra $15 check in their jeans or whatever for doing the camp labor all summer. But they were a hard team to play against. They were kind of the antithesis of your Montreal Canadiens, who were much more sort of the stylish, head manners of the puck. And I was a Leafs fan, so I didn't mind their game, but it was a real contrast, that huge rivalry that they had. They won 8 cups. The two teams won 8 consecutive cups in the 60s, 4 each. So
Wow.
they were really hammer and tongs. Back when Canada used to get, almost always win the cup, let alone once in a while. It was, very long run of that.
Well, those teams kind of had the system rigged a little bit too to get a lot of the good players.
A little bit.
Well, the Habs did. Anyway,
they had the Ontario and Quebec were pretty good breeding grounds for hockey players, and in those days, the Canadians did dominate that market. When I started watching NHL hockey, there was basically 6 teams, 108 players or whatever. One American, Tommy Williams, one American. And all the rest of the players were Canadian, and unless you thought Stan Mikita was Czechoslovak because of his birth certificate, but he grew up playing hockey in Canada too, so it was very different times.
Bruce, my number is 2. Evan Bouchard was +2, and he really earned it. We've already talked about the overtime goal. He won a battle on the boards there, look to me and to you, and put it over to Pickard. So that kicked off the goal rush with Leon Draisaitl scoring. He also kicked off the goal rush on Draisaitl's first goal. He made a really good play on the boards. I'm not sure if the puck was bouncing or if he batted it out of the air, but he kind of swatted at it and he got it and he put it right to Connor Brown. And so often Bouchard does this in the neutral zone. He gets the play going quickly in the right direction. This was what marked the excellence of Nicholas Lidstrom, was that ability to quickly move that puck before the other team could get set. And I think it's probably the most underrated talent of Bouchard. He does it all the time, getting that puck, passing it quickly up and right on someone's stick for a dangerous rush, which is why he's by far leading the way in terms of creating grade A shots, helping to create grade A shots for Oilers defensemen. He did it on that play. So just, it's a well-earned +2. And again, he's another guy who gets a lot of criticism. Some, much of it deserved for defensive miscues, but man, he can make plays, and he certainly got that play going. On
what were his grade A's tonight, for and against?
Give me 1 second. I think it was like 5 and 2. So he made 5 major contributions to grade A shots for, and 2 mistakes on grade A shots against.
It's great for a defenseman.
It is. He's the best of. He's well in the plus territory. Something we've hardly ever seen, Bruce, in all the years we've been doing this. Defensemen have finished in the plus territory only in the last few years with the Oilers, an excellent team, and he's done it. I think this will be the second consecutive year, and Ekholm, I think, did it last year maybe. Nurse has never done it. Nurse is on track to do it this year as well. Yeah. He might do it or he might not. He's right near.
So better than
cut off.
Talk,
so he's having a hell of a year.
Mm-hmm.
But Evan Bouchard is a really I just think he's a really underrated player. When you weigh the good against the bad, there's a lot more good there than there is bad, and I always keep that in mind in any discussion about him. Yeah, he makes glaring mistakes, and I can see why he annoys players. But man, you don't want to run this player out of town. You don't want to trade this player away. You don't want to overpay this player. But I can see why Chris Knobloch plays him more than any other Oilers defenseman. And he played 25-20 tonight, most of anyone on the team. And it's because he's a really good NHL hockey player.
Plus they give him those minutes on the power play. But just for listeners who don't get our system, or we haven't talked about it for a while, that we give pluses for people who contribute to scoring chances, like grade A shots for the Oilers, and minuses to people who get burned for them by the other team. And it's not even by position. The defensemen, by virtue of where they play, are much more likely to be lit up defensively for a shot than they are to be involved in the offensive play. Whereas the wingers is the reverse. Their job is mainly offense. And there's a lot of plays, in the defensive zone that don't even involve the wingers. They're hanging around the points, and the three guys around the net are the ones that are responsible for cleaning things up. And the centers are somewhere in the middle of
Hmm.
so the centers plus and minus should be balanced, and you want to think they'd come out ahead, and the wingers should be ahead, and the D man you expect to be behind with a minus. And the tricky part is accepting that minus can be a good figure for a defenseman. But if they're actually
Yeah,
plus, like Bouchard, that's outstanding.
yeah. Leon Draisaitl, Bruce, is +3 grade A shots per game,
Oh,
essentially. We've never had a player in the entire time we've been doing this
really?
project who's been +3 grade A shots per game. Never, not
97.
even Connor McDavid. I think
Oh,
McDavid last year was 2.8, +2.8 or +2.9, which was his best year last year
oh,
in that regard. So no, this is the best we've ever seen according to our system of rating and ranking players on grade A shots. This is the best that Edmonton Oilers ever played. Is Leon Draisaitl this season? So
oh.
good for you, Leon Draisaitl. Bruce, next game is Sunday.
Sunday at Madison Square Garden, always a showcase game. Edmonton, New York, and it's usually a good game. These teams have a history of
Yeah,
playing some real entertaining games there in Madison Square, dating back to Dave Semenko getting his only career hat trick there in 1980-81. And right on through the present day when, last year the Oilers made this big comeback in the third period. The year before they came from 3-0 down in the third period to win it 4-3. Leon with the winner that time too. And actually those are games where in recent history the Oilers role players and more depth guys have risen to play a key role, and maybe we'll see some of that on Sunday. That sure would be nice because that's one thing this team sorely needs. I can't just have the same couple guys carrying the offense for them indefinitely.
they cannot. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.